Hey guys, how is everybody doing? To wrap up all of my end of the year rankings of the year 2023, I'm going to end it off with a good note of my own personal 10 best movies of the year 2023. Now, this is not a definitive list when it comes to best movies. These are just my favorite movies of the year. These are just movies that I generally love. These are movies that stick with me. These are movies that I want to rewatch the most. These are movies from the year 2023 I see myself rewatching the most, and these movies I generally love. Like, I think like my top like three or four I would say are like some of my new favorite movies of all time. That's how much I love some of these movies on this list. Now, some of these movies don't have to match yours. My list shouldn't match yours. This is just my own opinion. So let me know what your favorite movies of the year 2023 were down in the comments below. So with that all out of the way, here's my own 10 personal favorite movies of the year 2023. Starting off at number 10, we're going to have Scream 6. Now, keep in mind, I do love this movie. Now, there might be some people saying, like, oh, this movie should be higher on your list. Why is this movie not higher? This is the best horror movie of the year. Hear me out. Now, when this movie first came out, this movie would be much higher on this list. I absolutely love the movie. I think that I love the New York setting in this movie. I think they utilize it great. I think Melissa Barrera's character, Sam Carpenter, I think that they make her character even better in this movie. I like more of the risks that they take, like how Ghostface having a shotgun, because a lot of people did not like that for some reason when they think that, oh, only at the end of Scream movies they can only have guns, which I think it's stupid. And really, the only thing I really have against this movie, it's killer's reveals. Like, I think that's what the only thing these new Scream movies kind of suffered with was with the Scream reveal, like the Ghostface killer's reveals. I never really cared for them that much. They were all kind of forgettable and characters. Some of them I forgot even existed. That is how kind of like, and some of them were like also pretty well, kind of like generic, like motivations, and also like really predictable that they were. But now back if this movie when I did this list back when this movie first came out, this movie would probably be in like my top five. But with after all of the Scream news, after everything that has happened to this franchise, I've kind of lost my love for the Scream franchise. I will definitely always be a Scream fan. I'll always cherish the Scream franchise. But at the end of this movie, to where it kind of just leaves the movie to where it has like the gate open for new projects, you're like, okay, we're gonna get a new one. Like they kind of set it up, but we also got the happy ending with the Carpenter sisters and all that. But it's like when you hear all the recent news, you're like, oh, we're not getting Scream 7 anymore. After all of this news, after everything Spyglass has been doing, by the way, fuck you, Spyglass, for what you've been doing, to where it's like, I mean, if this is the final Scream movie in this new like trilogy that they were going to do, I think it's a good note to leave on. But at the same time, it's like well, you could have done so much more. There's so much more opportunities there. This movie is in my top 10. I love this movie to death, and I absolutely cherish it. And if this is the final Scream movie I'll ever see, like a new Scream movie I'll ever see, it's a good note to leave on, but I just really wish that Spyglass would have just made the right calls and just not do all the shit that they've been doing. But this movie, that all of that kind of hurt the movie just for me personally. I still love the movie. I still think it's a damn good Scream movie, and this just shows that the Scream movies are one of the most consistent horror franchises out there. Coming in at number 9, just barely above Scream 6, is Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. Somehow this made my top 10 movies of the year. Now, I did not expect this movie to be in my top 10 movies of the year. I did not expect to love this movie as much as I did. But I was a bit surprised how much I enjoyed this movie. Now, when they announced this movie, when I heard this movie was coming, I was like, finally, a Thanksgiving slasher movie. Finally. But what kept me cautious was Eli Roth's involvement, who I do like, but I don't like his writing much. But it's still not great here, but I do think it's a little bit better than in his other films. And this movie gave me everything I wanted from a horror slasher. It gave me a cool looking of a killer, great kills, kind of enjoyable characters, and so on. And I love the holiday season of this movie, and I would honestly see myself putting this movie on during the Thanksgiving holiday because it's that enjoyable. Now, again, Eli Roth's writing is not his strongest, but that's really the only cutback I have with this movie is its writing. It's not very good. And also the killer reveal, it's like I saw that coming like a mile away. Like the second they introduced like these characters, like right at the beginning of the movie, I instantly called it. Like that was the first thing I called. Like I said this, I was like, oh, that's gonna happen. Oh shit, and it ended up happening. I'm not surprised whatsoever. But I am glad that we're getting a sequel, and I feel if once the sequel comes out, I might like this movie a little bit more for its issues, but you never know. Time will tell. Coming in at number 8 is a movie I did not expect to love as much as I did, and that is Wonka, Paul Ring's new prequel to the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Now, I was actually pretty excited for this movie, but I was a bit skeptical because I don't like prequels whatsoever. I don't have any interest in them. They kind of ruin the mystique of certain things and giving me answers to things I never asked for. But this movie surprised the hell out of me how much I enjoyed it. This movie, like almost every Paul Ring movie, he always just makes you feel joy. Whenever you're in a bad mood or you're like really upset about something, I would always recommend that you put in a Paul Ring movie and you'll feel 100 times better. Like Paddington, Paddington 2, and now Wonka. Paul Ring is great at making you feel joy in his movies, and that's why I love him as a director. And that was one of the things that saved this movie for me. And also, I love Timothy in the lead role of Willy Wonka. He's great in this role. And if Gene Wilder was still alive, I think that he would have gotten his approval because Timothy keeps like that same energy as Gene Wilder, to where he's mysterious and unpredictable. That's why I love Willy Wonka because he's a mysterious person and you don't know anything about him. That is why I love Willy Wonka, and this movie captures that. I love the soundtrack in this movie. I don't love musicals much. I don't really care for any of them. But to me, this movie is just as good as the original 1971 Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I love the music in this, like the updated version of Pure Imagination, uh, the chocolate song, like You've Never Had Chocolate Like This, the Oompa Loompa song in this movie. Almost every song in this movie I loved and was catchy and memorable. I loved almost everything about this movie to where I'm actually hoping we get a sequel to it because there's so much potential. Especially after the ending of this movie, you can definitely see it going places. I adored this movie, and it was one of those movies that I'll never forget, and one movie that has stuck with me the entire year of 2023. Number 7 is my favorite horror movie of the year 2023, and that is Evil Dead Rise. I absolutely adore the Evil Dead franchise. That is one of my favorite horror movies in history, horror movie franchises in history. I think Evil Dead and Scream are the two most consistent horror franchises ever, and I think Evil Dead is just barely better than Scream. That is how much I love Evil Dead. I love the original, especially that second movie. That second movie is fantastic. And when I heard this movie was coming out, I was kind of skeptical that this is going to be the second Evil Dead movie without Ash, and I was a little upset that the Stars show got canceled because I really wanted to see a season 4 to that. But no one has Stars, so no one streamed it. But we had Netflix. We had Netflix. Netflix, you could have bought the rights. We could have got a fucking season 4. But anyways, rant over. And when I heard this movie was announced, I was a bit skeptical because Ash wasn't going to be in it, but trailers instantly sold me. The second that first trailer came out, I was like, ticket bought, where's my seat? I'm watching the shit out of this movie. And when the movie finally came out, oh, fuck yes. This is everything I want from an Evil Dead movie. The characters, I will say, are nothing really right home about, but this movie does keep the Evil Dead formula. You got great gore, you got great kills, you got creepy ass deadites. Like, I would probably say that this movie has the creepiest deadites. Like, I do prefer the wide-eyed deadites because that makes them look more creepier, but I think this movie has probably the creepiest. But at the same time, one of the things I had an issue with this movie is that its originality because it like took like things from other horror movies and stuff, took references from other horror movies, and I was like, are you trying to be your own movie or are you trying to be an Evil Dead, like a just weird like cameo fest for horror movies and stuff like that? But anyways, I love this movie. I cannot wait for its sequels to come because Bruce Campbell has really tease that we are going to get a sequel to this movie, because I'm glad I don't want to wait every 10 years to get a new one, because I might be dead. Never mind. But yeah, this movie keeps the same formula as the Evil Dead franchise. I love everything that this movie does for the Evil Dead franchise, and it's everything I want from an Evil Dead movie. Alright, here comes the haters. This movie is gonna get me in trouble for what I'm about to say. Because number 6 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Done! Fuck you! 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 I'm done!
Waiting. Yep. Yep. Oh, come on, that one was just mean, okay, buddy? Oh, really? I'm sorry, okay? Look, Spider-Man Across the... Can I talk? Please, just let me... Please, come on, just let me... Just... Really, we're good? Okay, okay, okay. I'll let you finish. I'll let you finish. Good. Keep going. Keep yelling at me. It's okay. Alright. You done? Alright, good. Okay, number 6 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Now, hear me out. Hear me out. This movie is great. This movie, I think, might be better than Into the Spider-Verse, but once we get beyond the Spider-Verse, I probably will have a clear answer. Look, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was one of my most anticipated movies of the year. It's on my top 10 favorite movies of the year. Just because it's not number 1, number 2, or even above number 1, that does not mean I hate this movie. That means I still love the movie. If it's at number 6, that is not a bad placement. That is a good placement, okay? Look, this movie gave me almost everything I wanted for a sequel. It gave me more of Miles Morales, gave me more of Gwen. I love the whole spider world of the world of just Spider-Man. I love the references to other Spider-Mans like Spectacular Spider-Man, Yuri Lowenthal's Spider-Man, which I thought was a great cameo there too. This movie has great cameos from other Spider-Mans, and I think this movie might have made Spider-Man 2099 a better character for me, because I thought he was one of those characters that no one really knew. I barely knew him. I just remember seeing him on posters. But now because of this movie, I adore that guy to where I'm like, we need movies with this guy. Like, Sony, stop making solo villain movies about Spider-Man villains and make a movie about this guy. Like, okay, man? Like, this guy's badass. Like, who wouldn't want to watch a movie about that guy? But anyways, the only reason this movie is at my number 6 is because it's not a completed movie. Like, I said this when I did my comic book ranking. I hate how we live in a world to where it's split into 2 parts, where we get a part 1 of this, and then it leaves you on a cliffhanger, and then you gotta wait for God knows how long for part 2. And we might not see Beyond the Spider-Verse until 2026. And that's not okay with me. But other than the cliffhanger, I absolutely adored this movie. And at number 5 ended up being my favorite comic book movie of the year, and that is David Fincher's The Killer. Now, I thought this movie was going to be okay at first, because some of the trailers did sell me. I did like the idea of following an assassin played brilliantly by Michael Fassbender. I love that guy. And it's a David Fincher movie, so I had no doubt against the movie. I thought the movie would at least be enjoyable. But I did not expect it to crack my top 5 of the year. I did not expect that. And I also didn't expect it to be my favorite comic book movie of the year. I loved this movie. I loved following Michael Fassbender as an assassin. I thought the story was a little generic when it came to the story, because it was just an assassin kind of tracking down revenge, and he accidentally kind of messed up when he messed up an assassination. Like, that's a story we've seen a few times, like, let's be honest. But story-wise, it was generic. But other than that, I enjoyed the fuck out of this movie. I loved the, narration scenes with Michael Fassbender, anticipate, don't improvise. Like, I loved hearing that. That's, a great line in this movie. Michael Fassbender really carried this movie. I absolutely adored him. And you can definitely tell that this is a David Fincher movie, because it has his themes in it. Like, it's a David Fincher movie. What else do I need to tell you? If you have Netflix, if you're one of those still 100 people in the world that still have it because they keep fucking raising their prices. If you still have Netflix, please check out this movie. It is definitely worth your time, and it cracked my top 5. That's how much I love this movie. Coming in at number 4, I almost said 24 for some reason. Coming in at number 4 is John Wick Chapter 4. Wow. Holy shit, this movie was awesome. Now, when this movie was coming out, of course, it was one of my most anticipated movies. At the time, John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum was my favorite John Wick movie, but as time went on, it became my third favorite. But still great. And I did not want to doubt this movie because it's John Wick. Like, come on, it's John Wick. And the trailers instantly sold me. Like, I was like, oh yeah, this movie is gonna be great. But I was a little worried about the runtime with it almost being 3 hours long. I was like, why? Why does it need to be 3 hours fucking long? Can we go back to 90-minute movies, please? Like, come on. Fuck. Anyways, like that other than that, I was through the roof about this movie. And then I heard some of the early reactions and how this was the best John Wick movie, one of the best action movies of the year. When I heard all that, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna lower my expectations because I feel if I walk in with that kind of expectations, my my uh my speculations of the movie would kind of drop. I was trying to look for a word there. I can't speak. But when I walked in, I sat down, and at the not once I left the theater, I went, "Holy fucking shit, that was awesome!" Like, I think John Wick Chapter 4 was probably the first movie of 2023 that generally got me to say, I fucking loved that. That was the first movie of last year that I just went out and said, fuck yeah, that was amazing. That is how much I love this movie. The action in this movie is insane, and it's like, holy shit, how the fuck are they pulling this off? Keanu Reeves is great as always. The story I actually really liked. I thought like this is just one of the best action movies of the last few years, if you ask me, and is actually my favorite John Wick movie, which I honestly did not expect that to happen. Like, when I was making my ranking video, I was like, does John Wick go to number 2? Does it go to number 1? Fuck it, it's my number 1. I loved it. Like, that is how much I love this movie. If it cracked my number 1 as John Wick, like, fucking that fucking quickly. Just watch the movie. It's 2 hours and 50 minutes long, sure, but it fucking flies by. It is so fucking pumped. Coming in at number 3 is Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. Now, when I first saw this movie coming out, I knew it was going to be great because it's not a safe bet to get against Martin Scorsese. He's one of the best crime directors of all time. I love a lot of his movies, like The Departed, Wolf of Wall Street, Goodfellas for sure. Like it's not a safe bet against Martin Scorsese, and of course, Killers of the Flower Moon blew it out of the room. But one thing that did really scare me was that it was going to be 3.5 hours long. Ugh. Like that scared the shit out of me. I was like, why, stop. That was my reaction when I saw that, and I was like, why do we gotta do this? Like, Jesus Christ, Martin. And I went and watched this with my stepdad. Holy shit, this movie was good. The performances in this movie were great. I honestly think the pacing actually worked in this movie. Like, I expected this movie to be pretty slow at times where I'd be like, what time is it? Oh god, I got another hour left. It was never like that to where I was so enjoyed. It kept me in interest throughout the entire movie to where I would check my phone to see what the time was to where I was like, oh, I actually do have an hour left. How the fuck? And it felt like only an hour went by. I was like, holy shit, this movie's awesome. I'm fucking loving this movie. Leonardo DiCaprio, of course, he blows it out of the roof with his performance in this movie. He's absolutely great. Robert De Niro, how do you just not love that guy? He's great in this creepy role, like really messed up role. And to where you're kind of watching this movie too, to where it kind of gets under your skin, to where at first you're just watching this, watching people get killed in a crime movie. You're like, okay, yeah, that guy happened. But at the same time, as you're sitting there watching the movie, you go, wait, holy shit, this shit actually happened. Like, what the fuck? This is messed up. Or there's like really messed up, like kind of like torture scenes in this movie, where it's like, what the fuck? Excuse me. I didn't mean to cough. But it's like, what the fuck is going on? This is like messed up. Real people did this? How fucked up are you? But that's just the beauty of Martin Scorsese films, to where he makes you feel like you're in the moment. He makes you feel like you're in the room with these people, watching them like fuck up these people and shooting these people. And like, I also like the little town because it kind of reminded me a lot of like kind of like Red Dead Redemption in a way. I don't know if it was meant to be like that, but it if if it was supposed to be like it was built to make it look like 1800s like or something like that, and they definitely succeeded because it definitely looked like that. One subplot I'm kind of mixed on is the one where Leo was kind of like poisoning his wife in the movie, I guess, where there's like this whole subplot to where he's trying to get rid of her and stuff like that. I haven't seen the movie in a while, but I'm pretty sure that's what he was trying to do. I didn't understand that, but I probably have to rewatch the movie again. But I don't really see myself rewatching this movie much because it's 3.5 hours long. And where do you think I have that time in the fucking world, right? Now, my top two have really shifted a lot because once I watched this movie, I was like, oh yeah, it's my number one of the year. And then I watched this movie, and then I was like, oh, this might be my number one of the year. And these two movies were like neck and neck for like a few weeks and like a few months to where they came around like around the same time period. They came out the same month, and I was like, oh god, what am I gonna do? Like these movies were both fucking amazing. But my number two is going to be Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, or maybe just Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, because apparently its Part 2 is not titled that anymore, which is stupid. I don't know why, but I guess we'll find out soon. Now, I had just watched the Mission Impossible movies for the first time leading up to this movie, but every time I watched a new one, I was like, that was badass. And then I watched the Ghost Protocol, and I was like, that was badass. And then Rogue Nation, I almost forgot the name. Then I watched Rogue Nation, I was like, that was fucking badass. And then you watch Fallout and you're like, that was fucking badass. Then you watch this movie, it's like, how the fuck did they just top all of those movies? Like to where it's like it's almost kind of frustrating how great these movies are. You got 8 Mission Impossible movies and you're like, well, how are they gonna top that? Holy fucking shit. That is something I want someone to explain to me. How the fuck do these movies keep getting better and better as they go on? Like how the fuck are who the like how the fuck does that happen? Like goddamn. Like how genius of a writer and directors are you if you make every single Mission Impossible movie greater than the last one? When I watched Fallout, I was like, how the fuck are you gonna top this? And then this movie comes around the corner and says, me, bitch. I loved this movie. It was great. I love the action. Tom Cruise, he's always at his best, especially the ending scene with the train. It's like, ooh wait. I only really have one issue with this movie, and that is the villain of AI. Now that's basically the villain is AI. I don't really like that. That is something that's like I don't like that. Can we do something different? And part 2 is supposed to be the final Mission Impossible movie, as we know right now. And if you're gonna end it with AI being your villain, I don't really like that. I don't think that's a really good note to leave it on. But other than that, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is my favorite Mission Impossible movie. It's one of my favorite action movies ever made now. And it's just a fantastic movie. Coming in at number one should be no surprise, and that is Oppenheimer. Holy shit! Then this was around the time Barbenheimer was still a thing, and I'll miss that era. That is an era I will always miss. And this ended up becoming one of my most anticipated movie for the rest of the year. After June, like I usually do like short videos where I was like, what is my most anticipated movie for the rest of the year? And I kept thinking and thinking, I'm like, no other movie is gonna top Oppenheimer for me because like it's Christopher Nolan and it's based off the true story of like basically how the bomb that was created to end World War II, basically. Like as I was writing on the wall, me, sign me up, where's my ticket? And I was actually kind of scared because almost wasn't able to go watch this movie because, my dad was busy. He said that we might not be able to go soon. But thankfully, we ended up going, and thank you, Lord. And I was sitting there the entire time to where I was like, oh god, 3 hours. Like Killers of the Flower Moon, I was like, oh god, 3 hours, how long am I gonna last? I was sitting there the entire time going, this is amazing. Like, did that seriously just become one of Christopher Nolan's best movies? Like, if it wasn't for Inception, how awesome that movie was, this might be my number two favorite Christopher Nolan movie, right behind Dark Knight Rises. Yes, that is my favorite. Sue me, bitches. I'm still speechless about this movie. Like, how do you say that? How this movie was great? Like, I've never been so excited to go out and instantly buy something. The last movie that really did that for me was like I don't even know what. There's never really been a movie on the top of my mind that I remember that the day it came out on Blu-ray to where I instantly went down to my store to buy it, and I watched it the day it came out. I do not remember the last movie that did that for me. Oppenheimer was the last great movie that I watched this year, and one of the best movies that I've ever seen. And the last decade, this might be one of the best movies of the past decade, and one of the most beautifully made movies. Like, the score in this movie has become iconic all over the internet, and I usually don't really care what really wins at the Oscars, but this movie needs to win almost every Oscar. Best Picture, Best Sound Design, Best fucking Score, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor. This movie needs every award that there is, and I'm glad that it got nominated for like 8 awards from what I hear. I think it was 8. Was it 8? I can't remember. But this movie needs to win almost every single one of them because this movie is the fucking shit, and it is my number one favorite movie of 2023. That is it, everybody. That is my top 10 favorite movies of the year 2023. Leave me your favorite movies of the year 2023 in the comments below. Thank you on all of these end of the year rankings, joining me and all that. It was so much fun to do. It was so much fun to talk about some of these movies I hadn't talked about of the year 2023. I had a blast doing that. And I have maybe or like 3 more videos because I have 3 more videos in mind. The first one I will tell you, and that is my most anticipated movies of the year 2024. So look out for that. Hopefully tomorrow. And if you like this video, like it. If you'd love to subscribe, hit the bell notification so you will get notified for my latest videos. And of course, until my next video, see you all next time.